The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Under 9 years of this NDP Liberal Prime Minister, housing costs have doubled. Now, he said he was going to create a $4 billion fund to give to cities to speed up home building. So he gave Toronto City Hall $500 million. What did they do? Hiked building taxes by 42%. He gave Ottawa City Hall $200 million, so they could hike taxes by 11%. He gave Mississauga City Hall $113 million, so they could hike taxes by 22%. Why does he keep funding bloated local government gatekeepers that block housing rather than building the homes?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let us not take any lessons from that failed Harper housing minister who didn't get anything built while he was on the job. We're going to continue to do what he didn't, which is working with cities, working with provinces and territories, working with nonprofits to get homes built.
That's right.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
They're not being built. In fact, housing construction is down, way down. And he should take lessons from everyone because he has the worst housing inflation in Canadian history and by far the worst housing inflation in the G7 after 9 years in power. And now he's bloating up the same bureaucracies that have given us the slowest building permits in the G7. Why won't he follow my common sense plan to link federal dollars to housing completions to incentivize local governments to speed up permits, free up land, and actually cut building taxes?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition's so-called housing plan was universally panned by experts, which is why it failed in this House of Commons. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, we have been working with premiers, working with municipalities, working with nonprofits to turn the ship around that he neglected when he was so-called housing minister. The reality is we are delivering for Canadians. We have a lot more work to do, and his slogans and divisive attacks aren't going to get any homes built for anyone.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, when I was housing minister, the average home price was $450,000. The rent was $950 for a one-bedroom, $1,100 for a two-bedroom. It's now doubled to over $2,000. And we built almost 200,000 homes at those rock-bottom low prices. So now, fast forward a decade, 28% of Canadians tell a RE/MAX survey they're considering leaving the country because of housing inflation doubling under this Prime Minister. So why doesn't he get his gatekeepers out of the way and follow my common sense plan to build the homes?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, like in so many of his plan consists entirely of slogans and personal attacks on me, on mayors, on Canadians who are working to get things done. We are investing in partnership with municipalities to change zoning laws, to invest in public lands, to support nonprofits to build more units. I was just in Vancouver meeting with the extraordinary folks of the Vancouver Chinatown Foundation that are delivering a unit that this young woman can now live in and afford because of investments this federal government has delivered. We're going to be there for Canadians while he's there for himself.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
La semaine dernière.
Last week, a woman was stabbed near a hard drugs injection site, the Maison Benoît Labre, near a primary school. This tragedy could have been avoided if the Prime Minister had accepted what I asked around 3 months ago. I asked for hard drug injection sites to be closed and for money to be invested in drug treatment. Will the Prime Minister finally close down this hard drug injection site, which is right near a school? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, all Canadians deserve to live in safe communities, and that is a responsibility we take seriously. But part of taking a challenge like this seriously is listening to experts and listening to people working on the front lines of the opioid and toxic drug crisis in order to help people to get through these difficult times. Yes, we need to invest in help for these people. We also need to invest in ways to protect Canadians. We will base what we do on science and evidence, not on ideology and politics.